This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All righty, there he is. Good morning, Cam. How you doing, my friend? You doing all right?
I'm good, Big O. How you feeling, man?
I'm feeling a lot better than the Browns because, boy, 24 now. The 24th was also very, very disturbing when you read the account and everything that went on. And, whether it's true or not, I don't know. But just, I'm just so glad that it's not here. And I've been here, from beginning to end and watching all the controversies we've had here over the years and the embarrassments that this franchise has gone through. They dodged a bullet here and not being involved in this mess. This is a mess that no matter what, it ends up being a bad look for the league and for the Browns.
Yeah, man. This is it's rough to look at, honestly. Like, we're in a society where we talk about sports, so it's a weird topic because every time you watch TV, and luckily since the Dolphins moved on, and I haven't had to talk a lot about the topic, but when you hear people talk about it on TV, it's always a quick mention of the legal issues, and then talking about his when he's going to get back on the field, what's the suspension looking like, everything's in reference to football. And I understand why. We're football reporters. We report about football. But still, the reality of the case is 24 women have accused this dude of doing some pretty sick stuff. And so, to me, that should be the priority. And I think it would be hard to be a Browns fan and have to swallow that stuff and know this is the guy you just paid $230 million guaranteed to. And be happy with that, And look, the Browns were not alone. There were at least three other teams who were going to be willing to give up that the first round picks, not the salary, but the first round picks to be able to go get them. So, they aren't the only team that said, hey, we're willing to deal with it. But man, this is a lot to be willing to deal with. And so I'm not sure there's any team that's having a rougher June at this point than the Browns, just simply because their star quarterback continues to be in the news for what he's, alleged to do to women. So yeah, I mean, from the Dolphins' perspective, I would much rather, as a Dolphins fan, be arguing about whether or not Tua can throw it 50 yards versus 70 yards compared to whether or not Deshaun Watson did what he's alleged to do to all these
Can
women.
you imagine that, dude? You're not covering football anymore. It's just going to be all about the circus of everything, and that's what Bullygate turned into, and all the other things, and hell, they Stephen Ross already has a lawsuit that he's dealing with behind the scenes.
And by the way, that's still very alive and going on. I know we haven't talked about it much, but at some point that's going to rear its head again. So you want as much as possible. And I think about this because I did a lot of Jags covers last year, and talking to people back in Jacksonville, they were just tired that every time they were talked about, it was negative non-football stuff.
Oh,
and
we've been
hey,
dude, we've been at that for 20 years here. 20 years here,
right.
we've been
So
at
it's like,
that, dude.
at the very minimum, talk about us on negative football stuff. Like if we suck, just talk about us being bad at football. But being negative and being off the field, that's like a double whammy. And so, they did this to themselves. It's not really like woe is me. The Browns, they decided to make this decision. They decided that it was worth the PR to get a player like Deshaun, who when he's on the field, he's a top 5, top 7 quarterback. They decided it was worth it. And so because of that, they got to deal with everything. And honestly, I don't think it's enough. I think there should be more discussions about it, more backlash, because honestly, it's serious. I mean, like, look, I know the circumstances are different, but I remember when Michael Vick got arrested for the dogfighting stuff, right? So there was like days and weeks and months of every single day, the top topic was Mike Vick and dog fighting, day after day, day 56, day 58. And even when he came back 2 years later, it was continual there. And so
Can I tell you something really disturbing, my brother? And, I don't know if you want to dance with me here. You may not want to, because I go to areas that most people aren't willing to go. PETA's a hell of a lot more passionate about animals than the NFL is about women.
I think based off history, that's not wild to say. I mean,
I
just
know,
look at
but
look like I said,
not enough people are talking about that. You know, the
right,
way the whole Ray
right,
Rice situation. You know, to me, I'm baffled that women even watch football. The way they are, you know, the way men have treated women in football and the way men have been able to get away with treating women in football, you know, up until now. Now it's finally it's caught up to them to a point where, because it's become now so much more public and everything's a little bit more of a PR machine nowadays. Everybody worries more about image and all that kind of stuff. Back in the day, they could sweep things under the rug and forget about it, but that's, you know, the PETA people are very passionate about animals. Um,
right, right. And I get it. You know,
this
I
league
get it.
doesn't show the same
Animals.
passion.
I get it. Some people consider animals as people. I'm not one of those people. I'm not an animals or people person. You know,
I
but
am.
I grew up in a. I
I
was like, I
am.
grew up in a. I grew up in a different one. I'm
I
from the
am.
South, so
My five dogs are better than most human beings. I'm
I get
sorry.
you. That's what I'm saying.
I'm
You're
sorry.
there are certain people who are like that. I'm not one of them. So to me, like I just remember how much backlash she got for that. And to me, it's, like you said, it's more than some people get for what they're alleged to do to people, and especially
Yeah.
women. And so to me, that's bothersome. So like from a media perspective, that's why when people were like, "Oh, you know, how long do we talk about this?" As long as the topic needs to be talked about. I mean, these are people. These are women that he's alleged to be assaulted. So, like the long story short, it's not a good month to be a Browns a Browns fan. And the I know there's 24 right now. Like, does anybody believe that this is the end? Like, would anybody be shocked
No,
if this
no.
ends up being
Right.
25 or 26? Just kind of given what we've seen about his alleged history of being able to reach out to these women via IG, like this number can keep growing. So if the Browns made this trade thinking that, okay, all of it's behind us, that was
Ooh.
a big take on their part.
Oh yeah, big time. Not only that, it gets worse. Now the talk is they're thinking of trying to keep Baker for the whole season now because of this mess. So imagine the guy you dissed to trade for. Now you need him in order, because the Browns do actually, you know, all this mess aside, taking the quarterbacks out of the picture, the Browns are actually a good team. They have
Yeah,
enough talent that if you get any competent quarterback, should be able to
yeah,
take the Browns to the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? So
right,
for them, they're like in a position like, oh my God, if we're going to lose this guy for 6 games, 8 games, who knows? Maybe the whole year. Maybe the NFL gets pissed off because, as you know, his first year salary is like 1 million or 2 million or something
yeah,
stupid.
yep,
So you're
yep. They put
thinking,
it all on the signing bonus.
right, they
Almost
put
all
in the
his money
signing
is in the
bonus.
signing
So
bonus.
the
Yeah,
right, so the NFL is going to have to get creative with their fining, because they say, "Oh, you're suspended for the year end salary." Well, that's $1 million or 2 million. That's a joke, and they did that to circumvent this crap. And so
right,
this is, the Browns are in a position like, man, we actually built a good team with or without Watson. We need a
right.
quarterback, dude. They may have to settle with playing with Baker Mayfield again. How crazy
Boy,
is that?
wouldn't that be a story, you know? And knowing how kind of petty and prideful Baker Mayfield is, I can just imagine, you know, the press conferences with Baker, especially if he starts winning. I
Oh,
can see him just saying whatever.
yeah.
And so yeah, that's the situation the Browns absolutely do not want to get into. But the reality is that
They have no
Deshaun Watson
choice.
is probably going to be suspended, and he
Yep.
deserves to be suspended at whatever it is, you know, the game wise. He deserves to be. So you're gonna have to play somebody. And so Jacoby Brissett or Baker Mayfield. And so, you know, this is the reality that they signed up for. They felt like this was their way of getting out of quarterback purgatory, and they felt like, you know, dealing with this was worth it. And so they got to deal with everything that comes with it.
Well, one more NFL note before we get to it, and this is why I didn't want to waste my time. One, I didn't think it was realistic ever. But look, Debo Samuel, after holding out, after saying he wanted to trade, he's reporting to San Francisco camp, and he wasn't going to get traded here to Miami. So why waste your time talking, writing about all this stuff when it was just so unrealistic?
Yeah, now the reality is Tyreek Hill was their big receiver splash, and I kept telling fans that, and you know everybody gets caught up in the names, right? And that's why like everybody asks you continue to ask me about some of these bigger names, like we were asking me about Tyrann Mathieu for about a month, JC Tretter's been going on for like 3 months. And so everybody gets obsessed with the name. Deebo Samuel was the one for a while. Like the reality is they paid Tyreek Hill $30 million a year. They got Jalen Waddle, who they just essentially used 2 first-round picks on, and they signed Cedric Wilson. No matter how much you love receivers, that's as much as they're going to allocate to that position in a premium level. So, the San Francisco 49ers are going to try to make it work with Deebo. I hope they do, because that's the best spot for him. Like, I think that he can thrive under that Kyle Shanahan system. Now they got to pay him, but I think that that's the best spot for him. I think Dolphins fans, you got one of the top, probably I would say, we got to see him on the field, but top 3, top 4 receiving group as far as talent going into the season. So you should be plenty good. But yeah, I think that largely a lot of these things are just rumblings. Occasionally there's a little surprise, like the AJ Brown thing surprised me, him getting traded. But otherwise, I think most of these guys typically work it out. You find a way to stay.
Although the AJ Brown, while it freaked me out for a moment, I figured it out after. Like, you're getting rid of Ryan anyway. Malik is going to be your developmental guy.
Yeah,
Why are you
run
gonna pay
heavy,
AJ Brown?
offense. You're
Yeah, why are you
transitioning,
going
and
to pay
then
AJ Brown? Doesn't make any
and
sense.
he's also a guy. Although he's big, physical, tough, he has had some injury issues, and so sometimes teams get a little iffy about paying that big money to a guy who may be on the field at 80% of the time instead of 100%. So
If you're going in the
I
direction of Malik,
yeah,
it was a super smart trade on their part, actually.
right,
Super
right. It's not
smart,
it's not
very
a move that
progressive.
makes you. It's not a move that makes you better in 2022 at all, but maybe
Right.
in 2024 you're a better team because of that move. And like I mentioned earlier, it's a team that gave their general manager and their coach a new extension. So it's a group that is willing to think long term instead of just this year,
Foresight, bro. It's foresight.
because they got security. So
Yeah, it's foresight. It's actually really, really smart. All right, on the Tua thing, before I let you go, just to get into this silliness, uh, we got to stop, bro. This whole thing about his personality and that he's got to open up more and that he's got to get to know people and all this stuff. And Omar, I know, is part of starting this fire, but I too many people are reserved in this world, and they're very
right,
successful in all
right,
walks of life. We didn't care that Ricky Williams didn't talk a damn thing. He was running for 1,800 yards here. You know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm,
He. I know it's a condition he had, but Derek Jeter didn't have a condition. You just didn't get to know Derek Jeter. You know what I mean?
right,
Just one of those things. It's all over the place in this world. There's plenty of people that are like that are successful. The question is, are you part of the success? If you are, then there's no issue here. So if the kid goes out and balls, everybody's going to forget about all this crap.
right. So obviously I don't know who O talks to, and I've talked to some of my people on my own. Here's what I can say about Tua and his personality. He is guarded by nature, like he talked about. So I've talked to players over the last 2 or 3 years, and they mentioned, he's not Ryan Fitzpatrick in his personality, and I think that's one of the things that kind of like made people like talk about his personality, is because you had such a contrast when you had Ryan in here, where he's so jovial, everybody's his best friend. And that's not Tua's personality, but that's also fine. Like, there are people whose personality are different. I think it only becomes a topic if you are uncertain about him being the guy. And if there are concerns, then certain people bring up reasons on why. And so they're like, oh, well, maybe because he's not this, because he's not that. There are people in that locker room who accept him for who he's are. I've talked to several players this offseason who I've asked them, hey, what do you think about Tua as a guy? They're like, he's cool. He's his own man. We're not gonna, be laughing it up 7 days a week at each other's house, but that's not my experience with every quarterback I played with. So I think
Hey,
that
by the way, you think people are getting close to Marino?
right,
No,
right, exactly,
no,
exactly,
no. But by the way, do you think anybody still gets close to Marino?
right,
No.
right. Yeah,
I mean, come
but
on.
the whole idea that he doesn't talk to anyone, I don't think that's true. I think that he has an outward personality. I've seen him. I've heard teammates tell me about him dancing and playing music and singing in the locker room, being one of the guys. Like, look, not to throw shade on anybody, at all, but just kind of from comparison perspective for all the viewers out there. I covered Josh Rosen when he was here, And so he was a guy who he admitted he was somewhat introverted in nature.
Right.
But I think that one of his failures here was that he was just really did not. He was just
He didn't
very
communicate.
solo.
He
He did
didn't
not
communicate,
communicate.
actually. Right.
He was very individual. It was very singular focus. He may have had 2 or 3 people with very similar interests that he would talk to, but sometimes you would just see him kind of shut off from the team. Tua is
Right.
not that way. Tua is
No,
not shut off from the team. He may not be the biggest personality or the biggest jokester
but he
on the team, but
communicates. But he communicates.
he communicates. So I think that there's always a middle ground for everything. Like I don't think you have to be the most jovial dude, but to think that he's this asshole who just doesn't talk to anyone and just is
Right.
that's not accurate from the people I talk to. So somewhere in the middle, and to me, as long as you're a good quarterback, I don't care if you're making a ton of jokes or if you're just you're just talking to people as needed. That's kind of how I view it, but other people may have different views.
No, I'm with you. That's why I find it really silly at this point, because he is a communicator. Actually,
Right,
he's actually a big communicator. He's just not the guy that's going to be telling you all kinds of jokes all the time, and he's not going to go to the strip club with you and make it rain,
right,
and he's not
right.
going out to club live with
Hey,
you till
what's wrong?
2 in the morning.
Going to the strip club?
I, I'm not telling you about the things
I'm
I
just messing with
do.
you.
I'm telling you about what Tua won't do. Okay? I'm not talking
Right,
about
right.
me. Obviously, I'm going to do anything and everything. But what I'm saying is, I can't get Tua to come with me to Tootsie's. I just can't. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Hey, it's just
got you.
I tried to get Sean to go to the White Rhino. Right? Is that what
Yeah,
it's called over there in Vegas? And he wouldn't go. It's just one of those things. What are you going to do? Some of
right,
these guys are, they stay to themselves. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. There's
right.
plenty of guys that are like that will stay home. Some guys will be just video game guys.
Yeah,
That's it, dude.
absolutely,
They go
absolutely. And
home.
there's nothing.
Yeah, that's
And
it. They video game,
and
they
just kind
bake
of
or whatever, and that's it. It's over. They're done. They
on
don't want
that
to do anything.
really briefly on that. It's an interesting topic you brought up that I think fans should know because maybe they don't realize it. Players have more free time than you realize, and so I think people have this idea that players are up at the facility where they should be from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. and they go home and sleep for 5 hours, get up and do another 16-hour day. The reality is that is not life. Maybe there's like 1 or 2 players. Maybe Tom Brady was like that. The rest of these guys, they have lives, and I think it's good for them to decompress in other ways. So, like when there's this obsession with Tua golfs or this guy plays video games or this and that. I think the reality is I'm glad that these guys have their own interests outside of football. It makes them balanced, and also I'd rather them have that than get in trouble in the streets till 2 or 3 a.m. to
Exactly.
relax and decompress. So I don't see any issue with that. And like you said, everybody has their own way, their own route, and so I don't see any huge issue. And by the way, like who knows? It's a player vote, but my expectation this year, since it was such a big deal last year, is that Tua becomes a captain this year. I know that was a thing last year, whether he wanted to or didn't want to, and all that different stuff. I'm going to make a prediction here, Big O, that Tua is, along with probably Teron Armstead and maybe one other offensive player, are the offensive captains this year, and hopefully that'll maybe dissuade some of the Tua can't be a leader type mantra that comes out sometimes.
I laugh because I have on my notes here a Tua captain thing that I wanted to talk about, and I'm glad. Yeah, because It's a segment that I'm gonna have dedicated to it. But I just want to, let me, since you
Right.
brought it up,
Yeah.
you might as well let me enlighten some folks here on some stuff. Did you know Jimmy G was a captain? So
I did. Yeah.
how did they
Right.
feel about him? They wanted to trade they went and drafted another guy for their captain. They
Right.
told the entire team, "Hey, that's your captain, but he's not good enough. We
Right.
went and drafted the future for him."
Right.
Carson Wentz was a captain. How
Yes, I did know
grateful of
that.
a position was that for Carson? Oh, he's a captain. Yeah, you sucked at the end of the year. You're out of here. So one captain, they told the entire team, "Yeah, he's the captain, but that's the future."
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So
Yep.
now I just want to spin it. Okay. Because this whole captain thing is so overblown bullshit. I'm so effing tired of all this stuff that goes on with Tua. So shed light. Okay. I gave you 2 guys how this captain thing doesn't really mean anything. So now you put yourself into his position. You know the guy that is coaching you didn't want you, didn't want to draft you, okay? All right? Doesn't like you, not in your corner. So why would you want to be captain for a guy like that? The guy that's
Right.
going to embarrass you in front of everybody else and you're the captain? No. If you're the captain, you're supposed to be like Mike McDaniel. You're
Yeah.
supposed to be like Sean Payton. You're supposed to be supportive of your quarterback. Well, what did you do in midseason? You knew he went to play 18 holes of golf. You knew his hand was good enough to do that, but you still went with Jacoby Brissett and told everybody else he wasn't healthy enough to play until midway through that game that Brissett was injured, and then Tua came in, looked pretty decent. You said, Brissett, stay there. I'm wrong. Why do you want to be captain for that?
So I know.
So
So
my
I know.
point is,
Yeah.
let's not overblow this captain bullshit
Right.
because the teams don't take it serious, the head coaches don't take it serious, and if you're a player and you're going to be a captain for a coach, be a captain for a coach that is going to support you. Why am I going to be your captain when all you're going to do is shit on me? And that's, if I'm Tua, that's what I'm thinking. So why would I want any part of this?
Right. So I know some of the thought process on what the captain deal was last year. I don't know all the reasoning, but I will say this: I'm more focused on him, like he mentioned, truly being himself than what that says. Like whether it's a C on the label or whether somebody likes his personality or don't like his personality. You might not like my personality, Big O. I might not like it. Doesn't matter as long as we communicate and get along. It doesn't matter
All
who.
out, baby.
And so
That's
and
it.
so that's my view of it. Like I said, if I'm predicting, I'll predict that he is a captain this year, and
For
maybe that
sure.
makes people more comfortable. But I think overall, I would be more interested in hearing if he continues to be the guy that we heard last week which is truly close to what he is with his people in his circle. Is he like that throughout the year? Is he fun? Is he free? Is he joking on, ranking on people? Is he, having a little swag, dropping his balls a little bit? Is he that guy when he needs to be? That to me is more important than
Well,
the
he's
other
already
elements. And
doing
then
it.
and
He's
then
already doing
obviously
it, right?
if he balls out and stay healthy. To me, those
But
are the
he's already,
elements that are important.
but
I'm
he's
talking about
already
throughout the
doing it.
season.
I
I'm talking
know,
about
but
through
but,
the
but but
season.
what I'm saying is you're going to see that. Why? You're
Right.
already seeing it because the guy above him is allowing him to spread his wings. Whereas the guy that was there before was kind of contracting everything. And by the way, not just him, that was kind of a thing throughout the building. There wasn't really a thing where you could be yourself. Whereas now you got a guy that's allowing them to be themselves. And for all the people that think Tua doesn't have personality, doesn't open up, hell, right in front of you in the podium, he did that whole Tyreek Hill money thing. Come on, dude. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that's the environment that he's in. When you're in an uncomfortable environment, Cam, you can't be yourself. And I
Right.
think that's what it was last year or the last couple of years. He just could not be himself. I think we have more of a chance of seeing him being himself from here on out and opening up, like you said.
Yes,
So
indeed, indeed. Looking forward to seeing it. Today, by the way, is the final OTA practice of the summer that we get to see until training camp. So, be out here, and then it'll be a little bit of gap. So I'm sure there will be more Tua stories in the middle of June to keep things flowing,
in
content
other words, on
wise.
the 9th and the 10th, on Thursday and Friday, you don't get anything except stretching. That's it, right?
No, so we're only out there today. So the way it
Oh,
works,
yeah.
we only get during OTAs, we only get one day a week that we're out there availability wise. And
Okay.
they are out there, they were out there yesterday. They're out there today, and I believe it's Thursday, Friday their schedule, or
Yep.
it's Wednesday, Thursday, whatever the
No,
dates are.
it's
It's
Thursday,
Thursday.
Friday. It's Thursday, Friday. Yep.
My guess, based on 7-8 years of covering this thing, they'll get off on Friday. McDaniel will probably tell them Thursday, or maybe even today, hey guys, you did good work this off season. Take Friday off. Go ahead and get to where you are. Stay safe. So my guess is it'll be today, and then they'll have a Thursday OTA, which is closed for us, but will be their last day. So, and then they're on summer vacay until probably like the June 25th or 26th, I think is when they'll come back for training camp.
Follow him on Twitter at Cameron Wolfe. And, of course, catch him doing his thing there at the NFL Network, always rocking and rolling and covering our Dolphins. And catch him twice a week here doing our KSDT Miami Dolphin and NFL report. Cam, thank you, my friend. Enjoy the afternoon.
All right, now. You too, Big O.
You got it, baby. There you go. Cameron Wolfe.
This is